Thinking about the world and its problems, it becomes clear that whatever we are doing today is not enough, as it doesn't change the underlying structures by which our world operates. The work towards sustainable development is being undercut by the conditions of our system, which allows many to be rewarded for non-optimal activities. You as an individual entity can do something to fight climate change, but CO2 emissions keep going up. You fight poverty, but the world seems to have other higher priorities, and the real change is slow, and so it is for many of the world's problems. Given this, we are progressing much slower than we could and slower than what the challenges we face require. There is something underlying with the way our world works. There is a system at play which leads the world to such a mode of operation that puts humanity in disbalance with the priorities which will bring about a harmonious world. There is a set of ideas upon which our current society is built and upon which we act unconsciously. Due to the hegemonic and normalizing power, we often fail to think differently from the given thinking framework. But as Einstein said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. We need a more revolutionary approach. We need to imagine a different kind of societal structure, a more ideal one, and do so in a radical and limitless manner in order to then go back to our reality and see what evolutionary potential we can use to move our world closer to the ideal. As suggested by the iceberg model from systems theory, without addressing the underlying structures, the problems will perpetuate. The underlying structures govern the circumstances that entities find themselves in, that which guides people to a certain thinking framework and actions, a particular mode of operating. The underlying structures is that which distributes power and resources in a particular way, which in turn leads to the majority of results we see in the world. By continuing to operate within the rules of the current system, even with good intentions, one is somewhat part of the problem because it perpetuates the current financial, economic and decision-making frameworks which keep widening inequalities and keep leading to negative environmental and societal externalities, where one's actions and profit is not linked to the impact and the value it provides to the world. There is a big emphasis on the need for systemic change. Carrying on with what we have today, no matter how optimistic we are, won't cut it. Technical fixes on top of the underlying system will only lead to a slow, incremental improvement, if any at all in some cases. Scientific and technological innovation is not enough if that innovation operates within a system that allocates power and resources in a way that is not aligned with the world's best interests. However, the improvements in the underlying structures which would create a flourishing environment for people and which will direct resources according to the impactfulness of opportunities would in turn give rise to a greater innovation and breakthroughs among many other things. We need such solutions that will cut through to all spheres and solve many problems and embrace the rise of many solutions at once. Such root or meta solutions. Addressing the underlying system is such an option that would lead to one of the most effective improvements, as it is a fundamental force that dictates everything else. One thought to have in mind is that we already have enough of resources to solve the majority of our problems. If you think about it, the resources such as human potential, finances, capital, wealth, technology, and scientific know-how are there, and many of the solutions are there. It's just that our systems don't have the mechanisms of guiding, allocating, and coordinating entities, resources, and power in such a way which will bring about optimal results for all and the whole that we exist in. The problem is not lack of resources, solutions, and opportunities. The problem is lack of societal structures that would guide us towards a more optimal coordination and existence. There is an insightful quote from philosopher Machiavelli that says, "The reason there will be no change is because the people who stand to lose from change have all the power, and people who stand to gain from change have none." So unless there is an incentive for change for those in power, the significant change is unlikely. If only there was a system that mobilized and incentivized entities towards the priorities that will lead to a flourishing world for all. That's why we need to remake our economy and decision-making frameworks to the ones that would incentivize everyone to be aligned with our collective best interests. And it is such which we need to figure out, express, and execute. If we allocate a part of our time towards pushing for societal change, which is the root leverage point, it in turn would have the biggest effect on all else. How the system functions today was once built by people like you and I, and it doesn't have to be this way if it doesn't work anymore. Everything is just made up and we can make it better.